Luca Nation, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I love these episodes because, after our weekend, we had the Spud Web episode. Then we had the Coffee with Cage. Then we had the MLB episode, and all my fans are saying, Andrew, we haven't heard you talk. We want to hear your opinions. Enough of just this big lug, telling us how to think. We want to hear your opinions. So hopefully today I share a bit more.
Let's go.
Probably not. Luca Nation, welcome back to another episode. We are at episode 371. 371. So kind of officially, we're on to year 2, kind of sophomore season vibes. Cage, how you feeling over there? So guys, Cage, if you hear that type in the background, that's him booking end of summer trip to Disney World for the family. That's what he's doing. So he's completely enamored. He's not even going to look at me.
No such thing being done whatsoever. I'm not doing this. I don't know what he's talking about. But listen, he wants to talk today. So I have some topics. I have a couple topics for you. Like you like to give me topics. You can pick which one you want. Where you see the Suns-Bucks game going, and with a specific eye towards, do the Bucks need to win Game 4 in order to win the series? If the Suns win Game 4, is the series basically done? Does that mean
they're going to blow them out tomorrow? Bucks are going to blow out the Suns.
So this is the topic. You don't even want to give me. I mean, I know. Normally the way this
home
goes
court
is,
advantage is more important. Yeah, I'm playing the cage role right
now.
Good.
I love it. Good. So go for it. So talk.
I did that on purpose.
Please.
Home court advantage is going to be a bigger deal than it seems. So here's why. And I've said this a few times, but I'll say it again. The Suns are a young team. Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and Devin Booker, 5 years in the league. But it's not even about that. They haven't made the playoffs up until this year, let alone the finals. And now they have to play on the road in the hostile environment of the Bucks. You saw that stadium. It was bumping. It's a tough place to play for anybody, let alone people who have no experience in the playoffs and they have no experience in the finals. Your whole schedule is different. There's way more media time. You have to talk to reporters. You have to get your family tickets. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. And to expect a young team like this. And don't forget, guys, Chris Paul, as much as he's a veteran, how many times, Cage, has he been to the finals before this?
This is it.
This is it.
But how many times have the Bucks been to the finals?
Right. 1,000%. That's why they struggled for the first 2 games in Phoenix. That's exactly the point. So when it comes to these 2 inexperienced teams that, in my opinion, could not be more evenly matched, with the outlier of Jeff Teague, who's kind of like a WNBA player at best, these teams are so evenly matched that home court advantage is the biggest deal. It just is. It's just a matter of fact. And I think the Bucks win tomorrow. I think they win pretty easily. Game 5 is going to be interesting, Cage, because when you ask me, is it a must-win for the Bucks? I think Game 5 is a must-win if the Bucks really want to win that series, because I fully expect this to be at least a 6-game, more than likely a 7-game series. I think it'll be really difficult for the Bucks to win Game 7 in Phoenix. I think they could sneak one in Game 5. So that's my take on it, Cage. I expect the Bucks to win tomorrow. I don't want to say easily, but I could see there being a scenario where it's a blowout.
All right.
Next topic.
Yeah, next topic. I'm not even going to talk. I won't even tell you what I think about it, even though it's very different. Even though it's a very different opinion than the one you just gave. So, my next topic: baseball. Right? Baseball is. We have the All-Star game tonight. We had the home run derby last night. My question on it is: do you care? Does anyone care? Is baseball just basically a forgotten sport when it comes to the hobby? And if you think it is, what can baseball do to gain some form of relevance from a hobby perspective?
Right around it was 8 p.m. last night, Cage and I were texting. We had a productive day. We were talking to some industry insiders. And Cage texts me, he's like, we only have 20 listens in the first hour. Nobody cares about baseball. And he's kind of right. You are kind of right. If you look at yesterday's episode, it's one of our least listened to episodes because it was specifically a baseball topic. I don't think it's necessarily baseball because I think it's more baseball cards. It's the prices of baseball cards. And if you look, there haven't been any real modern baseball cards. Maybe the Trout card is one exception that have reached record high prices. Mickey Mantle, yes, that's baseball, but that's more like that's vintage. That's not modern MLB. So I think if anything, if modern MLB cards could appreciate the same way, Luka, Zion, Ja, and those guys do, I think there would be way more interest in baseball. I just don't think the prices garner the same amount of attention.
Why? You think it's just because, obviously it has fans.
I think it's because the parity of the game is so big. So, like, if you look at it, there's so many guys to invest in baseball. And is the difference between, Soto and the next amazing prospect, like Wander Franco has been, pumped up, but like, is the difference between Soto and Wander Franco that huge? Is the difference between Acuna and the next number one prospect that huge? And you see this change time and time again. So because there's so many different options and players to invest in, you never see like that Luka Silver prism or Luka base prism go through the roof, even though it kind of should have. I mean, you saw it with Tatis, you saw it with Vladik G, you saw it with a few guys, but even those guys, they haven't sustained the value. I'm curious your take on it. I just think that there's so many different players to invest in, and it changes so quickly year to year, season to season.
Yeah, I mean that's valid. To take it from a basketball versus baseball perspective, right? You have, an all-star game, right? When you have it in baseball, there's a lot more players on the all-star game than there are in a basketball all-star game, right? There's only 5 players on the court at one point in time. In baseball, you get 9 players on the field, plus the whole pitching staff, middle relievers, all kinds of stuff. There's so many more people who are even the top of their game when they're all-stars. Look at the all-star weekend. You look out there's 1 million people out there. In basketball, you're not. You extrapolate that out over the whole league, right? And it's 5 players per team, 30 teams, about 150 players. And, of that, each team only has 1 star, So what are you talking about? You're talking about, a handful, less than 3 dozen, stars out there. And, in baseball, every team has a couple of players basically. So I get it. As far as like young stars, I would put the crop of young stars in baseball up against the crop of young stars in basketball for the last 5 years. I know Luka is going to be great. I see LaMelo, I see Zion, and that's historic. But I would say that. Go ahead.
Not off the court, would you? Like off the court and endorsements off the court and popularity off the court. Would you?
Yeah,
Would you say?
Yeah, I'd put somebody like Tatis. I'd put somebody like Tatis as marketable as he is against any of these guys. I definitely would. The difference is the main guy in basketball, LeBron, is huge market, right? And I think that probably it trickles down everything. There's huge market, huge shoes. He's movies now. All that stuff. Whereas the main guy in baseball, Mike Trout, he seems shy, by comparison, you know what I mean? Like, so and everybody takes, it takes it down from there.
How important is things like this, Cage? So like LaMelo had, he got like best young athlete or something like that at the ESPYs.
Yeah.
And then you saw his speech and it was just hilarious. Like it was just typical LaMelo. It was on brand. It didn't even make sense. How much of that is important? And like Edwards, right? Like Anthony Edwards has a clip every time he does an episode. He's like, can you ask that question again? I couldn't even understand what you're saying. You had such a beautiful accent. How important is little things like that?
I think we make it important because we're looking for, make it important. When I say, hey, let's talk about like, Tatis, look, he's doing a dance. Like I think you make it more important than it is just because you're looking for a reason to sustain it. The flip side is, anyone who watched the home run derby last night and didn't become a fan of Pete Alonso, bobbing his head to Mobb Deep, Nas, playing rap music as he's hitting home runs, it would look like half effort. You know what I mean? Just bombing the ball out of there in an age where, everybody's in love with the home run, and making it look, as easy as he did. You have to become sort of a Pete Alonso fan. And here's, I guess, the difference, right? What is baseball doing about it? If basketball happens, if there's, the slam dunk competition and And I don't know whether or not it's just easier to clip this stuff, and maybe there's more content out there, Hoops Nation and whatever else there is, right? Those big dunks happen. Somebody jumps over Taco Fall's head, and you don't see anything but that for the next 2 weeks. Like, I've been looking today, and I don't see Pete Alonso's home runs that are hitting the scoreboard, basically, or him dancing and hitting home runs as he dances. Basically, he becomes a bobblehead doll. He's like, listen to the music, So,
it's media rights. So it's a media rights thing. It's the owners of baseball. Basically, they wanted more money in the short term versus building the brand long term. So they took they disallowed copyright, I guess what's called copyright infringement for other accounts like a Hoops Nation who isn't affiliated with MLB to clip and post that content. So that's why you see so few of them out there.
Yeah, so I mean that's the big that's the big thing. And listen, let's take it back, right? Because we're talking about cards, right? We talk about hobby influencers here all the time, but Gary Vee was infamous for saying, you got to be careful when you start investing in these young guys. He was talking about your Tyler Hero play and things like that, saying, that even best case scenario for some of these guys is they're going to have, a Ray Allen or a Chris Bosh type of career, guys who won championships, guys who are, borderline top 75, top 100 players of all time. Like that's a great ceiling for someone like a Tyler Hero or a Cam Johnson or a Cam Reddish. But people are investing their money in them, even if they turn into that, people don't care about those cards. People don't really collect Chris Bosh. I mean, you have to turn into an all-time great. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting conversation. I love baseball. You guys know that. And I watched something like last night's home run competition, and I say, why aren't people buying more baseball cards? Why aren't people watching more baseball? But it's funny. I got on a call today, and I with somebody from work, and they're like, "I hate these 7-inning doubleheaders. Like, baseball's so stupid. Why do they do it?" So I mean, I guess no matter what, you're gonna find folks who hate it.
I'm surprised hockey doesn't get more love because hockey to me has everything it needs to be the most successful or one of the most successful sports in the world, marketing wise. In 2021, because hockey games are exciting. There's really cool goals, but there's also other things to clip like fights, hits, trash talk. So I'm surprised hockey doesn't get more love, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've started to to watch a little more hockey. It's not my sport.
To dress like Austin Matthews, I agree.
Yeah, you put me on the ice.
I've seen some photos.
I hurt my ankles. When you put me on ice, I can't skate, so that's definitely not me. But hey, look, I got another question for you, right? Because I'm getting a lot of this. I just got this question. I should just read the direct quote here for you. I got this question this morning, actually, and it's, hey, I'm waiting on bulk subs to open up for PSA. What should I do with my cards now? I'm tired of putting them in semi-rigids and pennies. I don't like it in there. Top loaders. Like, what should I do? What are you guys doing with your cards while you wait for bulk subs to come back? It's an interesting question.
I would separate the cream of the crop, maybe the top 20%, and save them. Maybe bring them to national and have PSA grade them on the spot if they're worth the $250 fee. You do the math, and then I would, depending if you've subbed with HGA before. If not, I would do a 33-66% split. I would send the other 66% to SGC, and I would send the other 33% to HGA, and see if you could flip them. That's what I'm assuming people are holding, right? Flip items. Like, what do I do with my raw cards that 1 year ago, I would have sent the PSA, submitted and made 3x, 5x, or 10x if I got a 10. I would go SGC, and then also I would go HGA, because whether you believe in HGA as a company long term, currently the resale value of HGA cards are right in line with SGC, right in line with BGS. So I don't know why you wouldn't use the tools at your disposal, especially if you're not going to be holding these cards. And then some special cards, the cream of the crop, the ones that you want in a PSA holder, save them. Save those 10% and bring them to national. But the other 90%, I would divide into like kind of the 66-33 split of the rest of the cards.
Okay, my other topic. I got this question also. I'm glad we're getting that. I get to ask you questions and you get to talk this episode. Somebody asked me, hey, when I tuned in initially, Andrew told a story about how he started this off with Zion Raw, then he graded them and he made money and he flipped them and he took a smaller bankroll and rolled it into a bigger bankroll. They even mentioned an episode about snowballs, turning into, I guess a snowball, rolling it down the hill and the whole deal. And they said here in the question, they said, the snowball episode, if you're trying to do a snowball.
In that episode, Cage said, if you talk about snowballs one more time, when I see you, I'm going to throw a snowball in your face. That's what he said.
I did say
Go
that.
back and listen.
I did. So, and, it's going to be hard because I'm going to see you in the summertime because there's not going to be much snow. But what they asked was, they said, it's gotten difficult because we feel like we're rolling the snowball uphill. What does Andrew say now? What opportunity is there now, given the state of the hobby now and the state of prices now? Before, it was basically you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick up a raw Zion and grade it and make money. What are you doing now to make money?
That's a good question. What are you doing now to make money? Well, frankly, I'm going to answer the question. What I'm doing right now to make money is as I was making money with that snowball effect last year, Cage and I started a podcast. Why did we start a podcast? It's because we wanted to share our experience. We didn't want to make stuff up. We didn't want to, manipulate the market or anything like that. We just want to come on here and be like, this is our experience. This is what's worked for us. This is what hasn't, and start to create content. And eventually, in parallel, that created another revenue stream. So I don't have to just rely on grading cards or buying cards that appreciate in value.
So is it fair to say right now might not be the time to be buying raw and trying to flip? I mean, listen, you've said this a couple of times now. You're kind of on the sidelines. It's almost like a wait and see attitude. What are you waiting for? What are you hoping to see that will allow you to jump back in?
I don't want to be in the game of grade flip and sell for the rest of my life. So I wanted to get a bankroll where I could start buying $10,000, $20,000 cards and holding them for 6 to 12 months and making substantial profit on those. And I think those opportunities are out there. They're just different opportunities. So like, for example, the Mickey Mantle cards sold for $800,000 in a PSA 800,000 and $2.2 million. Well, if you go down the chain, there's also $5,000 and $10,000 Mickey Mantle cards that were available before the auction that are probably not sold on eBay. Yeah, you need a bankroll. Yes, that's a different type of play, but it's out there. Cage is shaking his head in approval, which to me is like the ultimate compliment because I never get that.
No, I mean, you've seen it, right? You've seen it with Rubber Band. We call it the Rubber Band, right? When you knew that that this card just ended at 2.2, doesn't it mean that the 7, which might have been 200,000, is now going to slot in at 3 or 4, and the 6 is going up, and the 5. Like, it's just the natural progression. If you believe that 8 is now worth 2.2, it moves everything else up. At least that's the way I think. It's like a backfilling, right?
1,000%. Here's another one, guys. And I was kicking myself because I was reactive instead of proactive. You're 1,000,000,000% right that it's gotten harder, but that doesn't mean there's not opportunities. I'll give you an example. You could have gone on the collectible app. Okay, last week you could have gone to Made For at the same time, or Memory Lane. I apologize. Auctions, and looked at all of the cards ending on auction, and you could have realized that Mickey Mantles and Babe Ruth cards were actually selling for a lot. We're going to end at auction for a lot more this time around than they sold in the last few auctions. Simultaneously, if you looked at the collectible app, fractional share prices have always sold at a premium to the actual card. But if before this weekend, the Mickey Mantle PSA 8, for example, closed on collectible for $670,000, $690,000 valuation. If you were proactive, you would have had money in your account. You would have bought that Mickey Mantle card for $690,000 in a fractional version. And now that card is up 30, 40, 45% because the Memory Lane auction pulled it up.
That's so this week, guys. So people saying, "Oh, there's no place to make money." Here's a place where if you jumped on it and saw that market inefficiency, that area for like an arbitrage play, right? Based on the information that's out there, secondary trading and fractional. So is there a lesson to be learned going forward on that? Let's just say we missed this particular opportunity. Is there yes. an avenue? Go ahead. Let's talk about that, please.
First off, I don't like using words missed because we always think of opportunities like they come and go, but they're actually always out there. It's just where are you looking, right?
Yes.
And I'll give you an example, like comic books and VHS tapes were a tip that Bro Namath gave that have obviously been proven right. So I don't think it's missed or not. I think it's when is there an opportunity that's also meets my core competency or is also in my wheelhouse. The reason I did well with Kobe Bryant rookie cards and Zion cards is I know NBA and I saw an opportunity in NBA. I wanted to get into comics. I wanted to get into VHS, but Cage, that's not what I know. So even though there's money to be made there, I don't necessarily have to go chasing alpha in an industry or a space that I don't know. So I don't think it's missed. I think it's you look at the fastballs that are thrown at you, and then you wait for your pitch just to hit it out of the park. So you have to let shots go by, even if they look like they're good pitches, because they're not in your wheelhouse. That's not the pitch that you hit. So I think it's really important to understand this is the kind of investor I am. This is the industry I know. This is the market I follow, and wait for that pitch. For example, if you know football and football prospects really well, or you know quarterbacks and football systems really well, and you understand that Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, and Kyler Murray are priced incorrectly because all the attention's been on Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady, and you realize that's going to even out when the season starts, and that's your core competency because you know football, and you pick one of them and you invest $1,000 or $2,000 in them, there's opportunity there. That's how I see it, Cage.
Seems like a common thread there is doing a little homework, researching, who's going to have more opportunities, researching the price history on things by comparison, seeing, Daniel Jones was trading at a 5-to-1 multiple, 1-to-5 multiple of Patrick Mahomes, and now it's 1/10. And, you think it seems like there's definitely a way to do it, but it's not just, no matter what, you throw it up in the air, whatever you do is going to make money. So I get it.
One more thing I'm doing, Cage, and I put this on my notes, was as you're getting into national, and you see people's cards on Instagram, or you're shopping around for cards, create a list of cards that you're going to national looking to buy. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be completely overwhelmed by the amount of cards, plays, opportunities. And if you don't come in with a plan, if you don't come in organized, I think you're going to miss a lot of the deals. So come in and say, I'm going to look for Kobe rookie cards in this price range in the grade of an 8 or 9. And then you know what you're looking for. I'm looking for singles of these 5 baseball prospects. If I could get them for under $5, it's a steal. And you come in with a plan, and I think you have a few weeks here to write out those guys. These are who I'm looking in baseball. This is who I'm looking for in basketball. And prices, grades, all that stuff. And it's a little extra work on the front end, but I can't emphasize enough how important preparation is for confidence, for success, for everything. And I think with National 2 weeks away, I'd recommend that.
And that is my next question. The folks want to know. I mean, they love listening to you talk. So you're going to the National the first time. Give me one thing you're looking forward to, one thing you're nervous about, if there are any. I mean, one thing you might have a little anxiety about. With some details, is there a specific card you're looking to unload at National? And is there a specific card or cards that you're looking to add to your collection while you're there?
This is fun. What I'm most excited for is to connect and try to create content with the people I meet. Like I want to have shows there. I want to record podcasts there. I want to have guests on the show. So what I'm most excited about is for our audience to do kind of more vlog-like or off-the-cuff content from the show. What I'm most excited, what card am I looking for? You'll repeat these questions. I'm looking to trade my Luka Silver Prism PSA 10 that I just got back. And I'm looking for specifically one card. I wrote it down, Cage. It's the Kobe Bryant UD3 in a PSA 10 or a BGS 10, the one of him dunking. And a BGS 10, it's like a $2,000, $2,500 card. I think it's really $1,000 card in a PSA 10, maybe $1,500. I want to get that card. I really want more Kobe rookies. What other questions? What am I anxious for? I'm anxious that I'm not going to have enough time to meet everybody I want to meet.
That's fair. So guys, send us some messages if you're going to be there. Let us know. Maybe we can even, in the next 2 weeks, maybe create like a Luka Nation IG group of national attendees, That way we are all chatting. Everybody who's going to be there, we can throw you in there. Send us a message, say you're going to be there. Maybe we'll open up that group. Maybe we'll try to do, a meet and greet, something like that. Hey, we're meeting up. Drop a little message within that group. Hey, Andrew's at Starbucks. Everybody run over and tackle him. Something like that. So
I really want to play some. I really want to play some ball. I don't know if that's a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. But it'd be cool to have a quick 3-on-3 tournament with versus card talk or play Sasha T 1-on-1 for that Luca base Prism, which we talked about. I would want to do some stuff like that. I don't see how that's going to ever happen, but that would be super cool.
You never know. You're there for a few days. I'm sure there's a basketball court somewhere in Rosemont. But yeah, that would be cool. So the goal is to kind of trade in the Luca and get a Kobe and some other stuff. That's cool. Yep. I like it. That's good. It's good stuff.
I really like that Kobe UD3. What else you got for me, Cage?
Which one's the Kobe UD3? What is it? What does the Kobe UD3 look like? I don't remember. Is that the one? Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
Give me a second.
Of course.
What do you make of the USA national team losing again?
I think that I saw a stat. They were 54-2 or something like that in their last 56 exhibition games, and now they've lost 2 straight. It's what do I make of it? I mean, they're playing against teams, and the other teams also have NBA talent. I mean, Patty Mills is on this one. Using the word talent to describe Patty Mills is, maybe that's not exactly right.
See, told you guys, Cage is booking flights. Cage is booking flights to the National.
It's interesting. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was a conference call that I've been on for the last 4 hours. I have no clue. And it just finally I never hung it up. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, lots of fun. So there you go. My phone's buzzing. Everybody's just trying to get in touch with me today. It's a lot of fun.
What is everyone saying to you? How great you are?
Card. That's a cool. That was a cool Kobe. You put it up there. You let me say how cool looking it was. That's a cool Kobe.
Go ahead and say how cool of a Kobe
this
is.
Nice, man. That's a cool Kobe. That's a cool card. What's that over his foot? That's not a gear, is it? Is that
this right here?
Yeah, it's just blue, something blue shiny.
Yeah, it's aerial artist, I guess is what it's called.
All right, that's cool. I like it. I don't know that
card number 43.
I don't know if I've ever even seen that card. That's pretty cool. So, listen. So we've covered some baseball. You talked about how the Bucks are, they're head and shoulders better than the Suns. Do you think the Bucks are going to win because the Suns don't know how to handle the press in the finals?
I didn't say that. People heard I didn't say that. I said it's going to be home court advantage throughout, and I think both teams are evenly matched, and I think they're inexperienced in the finals, and that's why they play so much better at home. It's way harder to play on the road, and the Suns have all these young players, which also adds to that.
Are you a buyer in Giannis?
I think Giannis is the most underrated player in the NBA today, and I think it's so interesting how people could be blind when something's so obvious right in front of them. People's comments on Giannis are if I was paid millions of dollars to shoot free throws, I would shoot 75% from the free throw line. Probably would, but you wouldn't dunk the ball on every single human. You wouldn't be dominant in the paint. You're not 7'1" fit that is the defensive player of the year, that could meet people at the rim, that has a fadeaway jumper, that's learning how to make 3-pointers. People are so short-sighted. Giannis is going to be the face of the NBA for the next decade. He just is, because he's Luka, Trey, all these guys. They're not physically in their peak yet. Giannis is physically at his peak, and yeah, he needs to improve his offensive game. There's no doubt about it. But he's going to, and he has a long career in front of him. So he's 26 years old. Let's say he's going to play for another 10 years. Do you realistically think that someone with his work ethic that's come this far isn't going to improve his free throw shooting, his jump shot? It's improved year over year. Why would it all of a sudden stop? So to me, Giannis is going to win the title. I've said that from the beginning of this NBA playoffs. I think he's the person who has the most to gain. I've said that in these playoffs. And I think he's going to end his career with 4 or 5 championships. I really do. I don't see how people miss what's right in front of them.
So do you recommend people buying Giannis now?
I think there's going to be this weird dip in Giannis cards where people after the title run, after the championship run, they're going to be like, well, he's not really that good. He's probably not the Batman. Chris Middleton is Batman on that team. I actually have a good friend who says that all the time. But I'm not going to bring up his name, Cage. But yeah, I think people are going to discredit his championship run because saying like, oh, he only beat this Suns team. And I'm obviously projecting they could still lose. They're probably favored. The Suns are favored, but I definitely believe it. I think his future is super bright.
Can I work a play in here, and then I'll go right back to asking you questions so that the audience gets their heaping dose of you talking? So just my play here, guys, is funny. My brainiac co-host who does know his stuff actually took some of the thunder away from it. I think he's exactly right. I think Giannis, whether he wins or loses the championship, his cards are going to go down. Akin to what we've seen with Mahomes the last couple of years, even when he won the championship, his card value went down after he won a Super Bowl temporarily, but it went down. And I think Giannis is going to have a bunch of things working against him price-wise. One, it was a card that everybody moved up, and even though it's come down significantly, people are buying it now. It was $1,200. Look at the PSA 10 base of his Prism rookie, and it went up to $1,800, like really, really quickly as the playoff landscape started to fall in his favor. After the Nets were were dispatched with. So now what you have is you have a lot of people in that card ready to flip it, ready to unload it. Not people who are like, oh, wow, I'm a Giannis guy. I've held this card for this whole time, right? I'm going to hold on to it. You have a lot of people who bought in at 1,200 hoping that he's going to win a title. And I think what you're going to see is whether he wins or he loses, at the same time as people are starting to buy football cards and starting to liquidate and look at football, try to buy their quarterbacks of who's going to be great next season, their Josh Allen's or whatever it may be, you're going to have Giannis win or lose, and you're going to have people dumping his cards. If he loses, you're going to have people dumping his cards because they're like, oh, he's not going to win it now. He's never winning it. If he wins, people, you wouldn't think they're going to dump it, but I'm telling you, with the price action that we've seen, people are going to be selling. And if you have those people selling those cards, looking to just make that couple $100, that's pricing pressure, that's selling pressure, and it becomes sort of a buyer's market for that card. And I think you're not going to see, it may have a temporary 1 day or 2 day, a couple of them sell pretty high when right after he wins, maybe the next day. But just like the Mahomes, a couple weeks after, I think it's going to hit a bottom. And I think it's going to go down, especially with football coming and no one looking for it. I think in this offseason, you're going to have an opportunity to buy Giannis cards if you believe in him. And I think Andrew's just done a really good job of explaining why Giannis is going to be relevant and at the top of the league for basically the next decade. And he'll work on his stuff. I don't remember the free throws being as bad as they are now. In seasons past, he's never been a great free throw shooter, but it just seems to be glaring. And obviously when you get into playoffs, there's a magnifying glass and a spotlight on everything, right? But the Giannis play doesn't just have to be the Prism PSA 10. There are cool rookie autos out there of him that don't suffer a lot. I mean, Gold Standard is one of my favorite. I talk about that one all the time. That's not exactly the cheapest, but there are other Panini branded, rookie autos, RPAs, you name it, that you can grab from him. Probably in this off season, people will be unloading these things. And if you're a believer in him, as I've started to become, you heard my talk about him, how I think he grew into that. That it's in my brain more respect there. After he got injured, walked off, was a tough guy. I was calling him, one of these, clearly a Batman and after that injury, before this last 40-point performance, before they won. I think it was episode 367, so last week. But I think he's very, very good, and I think you're going to see multiple championships out of him to go with his individual hardware, and that's the makings of somebody who is worth investing in. Shoot.
Cage, you work in a corporate environment, right?
Yeah, this is true.
Don't remind him. I apologize, but this is gonna make sense to you. So like how when you get 5 or 6 or 7 different assignments, almost kind of at the same time, you have to start to prioritize them.
Yep,
we've all been there, especially when you work. When you work, someone gives you work. Well, that to me is a metaphor to what Giannis has to do. So Giannis has to be the best defensive player. He has to create the offense. He has to set picks. He has to be the primary ball handler. he knows that the team relies on him to score 30, 35 points a game to even be in contention. So the free throws, it's not that he doesn't work on them. Mentally, that becomes priority number 6 because so much of the game has to go through him because he knows that if he doesn't do what he needs to do, Brook Lopez isn't going to get open shots.
It's in his mind now, though. I mean, I understand what you're saying. We're rationalizing it, but I mean, he's throwing up air balls. You know, when it counts, that's just that's like the yips. You know, that's in his brain.
He doesn't have the yips. He just went like 14 for 18 last game.
Yeah, which means he figured it out or he's out of his own mind. It's not a talent thing. If you go 14 for 18 one day and you're shooting friggin' 4 for 15, that day where he's 4 for 15, the fans were getting under his skin.
No.
The countdown was getting. You don't.
Dwight Howard shot 80% from the free throw line in practice.
So
it's harder in the game. You're tired. You have more pressure on you.
But he did it in the game, and then he didn't do it in the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's so obvious.
Practice is not a game. So practice, you can't mimic practice to say.
Forget about practice. I don't know what Giannis shoots in practice, and I don't care what kind of underwear Dwight Howard wears. I know you do. But here's the thing, right? So Giannis, from one game to the next, he's a decent free throw shooter and a horrible free throw shooter. The difference there was home and away. That's mental. He obviously has the skill to do it. If he can go 14 for 18, then he can shoot the free throws. That's a good clip. That means he can do it. It's not something that he needs to work on. If he's working on it in the gym, he's probably going to shoot at a 75% or 70% clip. He'll probably do fine. What he needs to work on is in here. It's blocking out the crap. It's forgetting about the situation. It's making your shot even when you're on the road and the fans are getting on your case. It's a mental thing. At least to me, I think it's a mental thing.
We'll agree to disagree, but I love you guys. So we're going to wrap the episode with a play. So I want to make a play on Kyler Murray, but I don't want to go with his prism because I don't think we're going to see prism base move the same way that it has moved in previous years. I think the reason is in previous years, prism base was on this like price discovery path, Cage. I don't know if you agree with that. Like we didn't know what a prism base could be worth at its peak. We also don't really know what a prism base can be worth at the bottom. Price discovery cuts both ways. But I do think that Kyler is going to have a really good start of next season. I think he's going to be in contention for, like they do like the first half MVP awards. And my two plays are there's the 2019 Kyler Murray Select Field Level Silver Prism. That's a $1,000 card. It's an expensive card. But there's also this card that's the 2019 Panini Select. It's called the Phenomenon Prism. Super short print card, and it's in the $200 to $300 range in a PSA 10. And I'll pull it up right here, Cage.
I like that card.
It's a cool card. It's way more short print than it's a 2019 Panini Select card number 21. Kyler Murray Phenomenon Prism. One sold for $300. There's some for $200 that have sold. It's obviously one of those cards that's a little less liquid, but it's way shorter print than the Prism. And it's also 50% or 75% of the price of a Prism. And I think this is a cool card to look at for Kyler because he has everything he needs to have an amazing first half of the season. And I also think you guys need to realize he plays the Seattle Seahawks twice. That offense for the 49ers, the defense for the 49ers, not going to be the same. They lost their defensive coordinator. So the Rams, we'll see, but I think they're going to throw the ball more. They brought Stafford in. So I think there's going to be that division's going to be putting up a lot more points. That bodes well for Kyler. I think Kyler is going to be in contention. I don't think he's going to be MVP, but in contention for being a first half MVP. And it's worth taking a look at his stuff.
Okay.
All right, Luca Nation, we love you.
Do you have any injury concerns with him? He's basically a running quarterback. He's somebody who does play a style of game, I would think, where you potentially get hurt. No, you don't worry about that. I worry about that with almost all these running quarterbacks, this new style of quarterback, this new game, Not so much with like Mahomes because, he stays in the pocket when he needs to, but, your standard running QBs. Also, I worry with Kyler. It's funny. Kyler, I go hot and cold on Kyler, right? I mean, Kyler, he reminds me of Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? Where he was like the hot guy and then all of a sudden kind of cooled off and, could he be hot again like Baker did? You know what I mean? That was like the hot team going into it and then he cooled off. But everybody kind of goes away from that, what you call the sexy new toy, right? I mean, are people going to be, Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence and, people are just going to be worried about those guys? I mean, honestly, if you learn from history here, I like Kyler because I think now he's a year removed from his honeymoon, last year. So I like that. And if I were able to make a play on the play, I'd be real nervous if I were holding Justin Herbert cards.
Yep.
Because that guy basically has to win the MVP in a Super Bowl this year to justify the prices that he has now. And you've seen that with Kyler last year, right? It's exactly the same kind of thing, right? Whereas like Josh Allen, he got better, I mean? So in any event, even Josh Allen with the year that he had, it was difficult to sustain his prices and stuff. So I like the Kyler play just because I think his expectations coming into the season are significantly less than they were last year. So, easy for him
to go back and listen to that because the last 60, 90 seconds there is a strategy and a pattern that you see time and time again. A guy comes into the league, the media gets all on top of him. He gets promoted. His cards hit record highs before the season where basically success is baked into the moon. His cards inevitably regress, and then you could rebuy on the same pattern the following year heading into the season where there are no expectations and actually more upside. That's a really interesting pattern that presents itself across sport. So back to actually to put a dovetail and bring it back full circle to the people asking me, Andrew, in 2020, you could just throw a dart and anything would make money. What are you looking at now? I'm trying to spot patterns and learn. And I think these patterns present themselves more and more. So yes, it's more challenging, but they're out there. There are opportunities out there.
Perfect. It's a good bow on the episode, right? If you look and do a little research, there are opportunities. Not as easy as it was, but they're there. That was a fun one, man. We should do this more often to let you talk. I feel like I could run a marathon now. I'm not as tired as I usually am.
Love you, Luca Nation. Oh, I'll add one more little thing. Okay,
yeah,
so Red Zone Rippers. So Bryce and those guys, we connected with them a few months ago. We were talking about breaks and stuff like that. But anyway, they've been a part of the Luca Nation community for some time, Red Zone Rippers. They sent us a photo in one of our groups like, hey, check it out. We're in Denver for the All-Star game. And they took a picture of that Mickey Mantle PSA 10. And I want to do something like that. So you guys know I'm in Mexico. I don't have all my cards with me. I'm not vlogging or any of that stuff. So I was like, but I want to do more photos and more visuals of our audience. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a feature Friday. And if any of you guys out there, you're at a show, you had a massive card pickup, you guys are like Red Zone Rippers, you went to see the Mickey Mantle card or anything like that, where you're out in the general public and you spotted a card or you're doing something cool, send us a photo, send us a video to our DM. And on Fridays, we're going to do this thing called Feature Friday, where hopefully we can, help you guys grow your Instagram page, promote what you guys are doing just while living. We'll post some of those photos of you guys out and about in the card world. I think it's going to be cool. So Feature Friday, send us a DM. Kate, did I do a good job explaining my goal there?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's one of those we used to go like a brush with greatness. If you see somebody cool, see the picture. You see anything card world. If you go to a show, if you happen to be in a store, you see somebody selling stuff. You see, whatever it is, take a picture. We will repost it. We'll share it because that's Andrew's thought here is this kind of stuff going on, especially picture with the Mickey Mantle 10. That's a cool thing. People want to see that. I saw it. I was like, whoa! I wish I was there with that card and that collection. That's pretty awesome.
1,000%. Love you, Luca Nation.
Take care, everybody.